Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the INSET 2020 of Tanza, National Comprehensive High School. Before we begin, please observe a moment of silence for the doxology, to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide. Hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us join hands in welcoming our very own principal, Dr. Joy Ibendia, for her opening remarks.
To the department head of English, Sir Ramon Rivas, to the master teachers, to all the teachers, good morning. It is a good day to start your in-service training, and I'm very happy that all of you were able to come up with this initiative. And I know that we wanted to be ready to the new normal. This is a new endeavor that we're going to pursue to be more relevant and effective to the needs of our students. It will not be easy. The preparations are enormous, and I know that everyone has their own doubts to the capability, to the ability of making this new normal a 100% effective implementation of continuously giving our students the best that we ought to dream. The 100% effectivity of the new normal the new normal learning delivery modality lies on your hands, teachers. Sabi ko nga, ang pagsisikap nating maging mahusay na guro ay laging nakasalalay sa ating desire, sa ating commitment, sa ating pagiging dedicated sa lahat ng ginagawa. Hindi magiging maganda ang isang proyekto kung wala ang pagsisikap ng maibigay ang 100% ng inyong sarili sa gawain. Ang bawat isa sa atin sa paaralan ay kinakailangan magtulungan, kinakailangang ibigay ang lahat ng kakayahan, lahat ng kahusayan at karunungang mayroon siya upang ang mga bata na ang edukasyon ay nakasalalay sa atin ay patuloy na magkaroon ng magandang buga. Ako at ang inyong department head at ang lahat ng mga department heads sa ibang learning areas ay patuloy na magtutulungan kasama kayo, kasama ang mga magulang, kasama ang ating mga stakeholders, internal at external, para patuloy tayong makapagbigay ng kaalaman, kahusayan na kinakailangan ng mga bata sa panahong ito na may pagsubok.
So much, Ma'am Joy, for that very inspiring message. To also give us a message, let's join hands in welcoming the head teacher of the English department, Mr. Ramon L. Rivas. The COVID-19 pandemic brought astounding changes into our lives. No matter how hard these changes might have been, may your heart remain undaunted. In times of weakness, learn to understand your emotions and take the challenges not as an end, but as your path toward resiliency. Soon, we will celebrate because you have been courageous in the face of adversity. Rise up because a stronger you awaits. Thank you, Mr. Rivas, for that beautiful message. Okay, good afternoon po. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Ma'am Melia.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, good afternoon po sa lahat ng nakikinig sa atin ngayong araw na to. Okay, so before we start po and go through the main part of our lecture, first we're gonna provide a clear background of what has been happening in the past few months in the context of the new normal. So for today po, in our first session of our inset, we'll be dividing it into 3 lectures. First one is, again, this is the first one, the new normal. Second one po will be about true resiliency, which will be discussed by Ma'am Melia. And then the third one will be about work from home tips and strategies that you can use, which will be discussed by me po. Okay, so before that, let's first go to our context, the new normal. For today, we'll first explain what has been happening in the past few months. Why are we here? What's the pandemic about? I'm sure most of us are familiar with COVID, but it's also important that we further understand the context. And then also, aside from that, we'll also talk about how the government has been responding to the pandemic and how our community in Tanza has also been responding, as well as Tanza National Comprehensive High School, which happened to be the school we're working at. Okay, so let's start now. Background, last December 31, 2019, there were a lot of cases last December 2019 in which a number of people in Wuhan, China were admitted in the hospital because of pneumonia. And the cause was unidentifiable. But later on, they figured out that it perhaps might be because of an exotic food, specifically bats. Because in that place, the market is known for selling exotic food, and they figured out that perhaps it started with they acquired the virus from bats in which they eat. Okay, so that's what happened December 31, 2019. Apparently, the cases grew bigger, and apparently they realized na nakakahawa yung sakit. So therefore, on January 30, 2020, the disease was not involved not only within China, but it started to scatter among all other countries. And on January 30, 2020, on the same day, World Health Organization announced that the name of the disease must be Coronavirus Disease 2019 or COVID-19. So, as a response, February 1, 2020, the Department of Education Secretary issued Memorandum Number 11, creating a task force for the management of the department's response to COVID-19. So the DepEd responded to this in line with the decision of the government to come up with the interagency task force in which each member po of the government, each department, will be accountable for the decision making that they need to come up with in responding to the pandemic. Marami pong issues regarding that. Last January, there were issues about politicians being skeptical about prohibiting Chinese visitors to enter the country. But apparently, they say na there's no need to discriminate. Then eventually, they realized that had we been more proactive, the number of cases would have been avoided. But let's continue. World Health Organization describes coronaviruses as a large family of viruses that can cause respiratory illness ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases. So, as they say, coronavirus might be similar with SARS and other diseases na kumakalat before. But this one po kasi, the coronavirus is still marami pa rin tayong hindi alam tungkol dito. That's why we're still coming up with vaccine, we're still coming up with different responses, medical responses, kung paano nga ba masasagupa yung virus. The most common symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, dry cough, and tiredness. Some patients may have aches and pains, nasal congestion, sore throat, or diarrhea. Now, unfortunately, dahil nga hindi pa rin po natin alam kung paano mismo i-cure yung disease, what doctors do right now is that they try to cure the symptom. And the symptom depends on the antibodies your body has. So for instance, kung medyo malakas ang iyong immune system, the symptom wouldn't be as harsh as what other people experience. So others, they won't feel anything. They just feel normal. Maybe it depends. It's still the medical practitioners who can identify why. But what they do now is that they try to cure the symptom and not merely the specific virus. So you have here fever, so they provide a specific medication for that. And if it gets worse, they also provide a more intensive medication for that. So based on the data from China, about 80% of patients experience mild illness. So majority, according to their statistics, majority of the patients experience mild illness only, but 14% still experience severe diseases, especially other people po, nahihirapan talaga silang huminga, and they had attacks. And 5% became critically ill. So while many patients experience only mild illness, this shouldn't be taken as a joke because we'll never know how our body will respond once we contract the virus. Okay, so COVID-19 is transmitted through respiratory droplets expelled by an infected person when they cough, sneeze, or speak. That is why right now, physical interactions are prohibited or limited because of the possibility that we might acquire the virus unknowingly. Because again, it's communicable. So you have cough, sneeze, or even speak. So this one probably is more on the oral. And then these droplets can infect an exposed person through contact with the eyes, mouth, or nose. Or when the exposed person touches a surface contaminated by the respiratory droplets of the infected person, and in turn touches their eyes, mouth, or nose. So we can contract the virus once the droplets might go within our eyes, mouth, or nose. That is why right now, mahigpit po ang regulation ng pagsusuot ng face mask and face shield so that the droplets might not go within our system. Transmission is mainly from symptomatic patients, according to World Health Organization. But there's also evidence that the virus may be transmitted by an infected person in the asymptomatic stage. So right now, they're still trying to figure out if asymptomatic patients can really pass the virus to other people, kung pwede ba sila makahawa. But for now, one thing is confirmed, symptomatic patients can transfer the virus to other people. For the asymptomatic stages, there's asymptomatic patients, they're still trying to figure out if it's really true, but there is a possibility na pwede po silang makahawa. Because of the manner of transmission of COVID-19, we have become more strict than ever in terms of practicing proper hand and respiratory hygiene. Many of us now bring alcohol and nagkakaubusan na rin ng like other personal hygiene kits because it is the most important protective measure. Okay, so that's the background information so far about COVID. Now, how did it affect our country? How did the country respond to the pandemic? As of August 14 po, unfortunately, we have 154,000 cases with 2,442 deaths. So it seems to be increasing more and more despite the regulation, despite the ECQ and the quarantine measures that the country has been imposing. The Philippines' gross domestic product shrinks 16.5% in the second quarter of 2020, the sharpest drop ever on record. And right now, around 45% of our employees were fired at work. So malaking epekto rin po ito sa ating ekonomiya. And according to economists, we are experiencing recession. Around 7.3 million Filipinos have temporarily or permanently lost their jobs due to business closures because of the pandemic. So those working at malls or even those people who are working in especially the luxury items, malaking kalugian yung experience nila. Even restaurants, actually all areas are affected economically. And so aside from this po, the Philippine government is facing a difficult balancing act of having to save lives and restarting the country's economy. So according to medical practitioners, the best way to secure lives and to prevent the scattering of the virus is through quarantine measures. So we've been observing that. Unfortunately, it has a downside. The downside is the economy has been greatly affected because social mobility has been restricted, which means that people couldn't go to their work. So that's why the government is still trying to balance out how will they secure lives of people while at the same time trying to sustain our economy. So it has still been a great challenge. That's why the government has come up with different terms in making sure that quarantine measures will still be observed while the economy's concerns are also being addressed. It must also continue to build health capacity, further expand its testing, tracing, isolation, and treatment programs. So this one is very important po, testing and tracing, because only through testing and tracing can we identify our enemy. So once we get to trace someone, so according to our medical practitioners, what they will do po is that they will observe quarantine, they will self-isolate, they will do quarantine for around 2 weeks, and they also need to go through testing, so isolation, treatment programs, while ramping up its health advocacy on the importance of practicing social distancing, wearing face masks, washing hands, and reminding people to be healthy and to maintain good hygiene practices. So right now po, if you see on Facebook, if you see in different news media outlets, nagkakagulong bansa, but again, there are things that we cannot really manage. So therefore, I just focus on what we can do on our own instead. So being healthy is one good way of combating and responding to the pandemic, and maintaining good hygiene practices as well will be beneficial. So bringing alcohol, taking bath every day, or basically ganun po, wearing face masks will be a great help not only for ourselves but also for our economy and for our medical practitioners. Now, how did the DepEd respond to the pandemic? So here's Mamelia to discuss the 4 principles that DepEd adhered to in responding to the pandemic.
Thank you, Sir JR, for that insight. So it's not only their agency is suffering, but DepEd also is suffering. But then DepEd come up with a plan in response to the pandemic. So the first principle is um, protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, personnel, and to prevent the further transmission of COVID-19. So we all know that before you enter in a certain agency, you have to have first the health admission form, your temperature is being checked, which is part of the health protocol as guided by in accordance with the guidelines set by the IITF. The second principle is ensure learning continuity through K to 12 curriculum, adjustment, alignment of learning materials. So before, the learning competencies is moreover 14,000, while it was trimmed down now to 5,000. So we call it the most essential learning competencies. That is also aligned to the needs of the learners since they may be really studying at home. The third principle is be sensitive to equity, consideration, and concerns and endeavor to address them the best we can. We all know that not everyone is not as rich or as well-to-do or well-off as others. Others may not have really internet connection. So did the DepEd come up with different learning modalities? So say, for example, if you don't have the internet, you could have module. If you do have, you can have the online classes still. If you don't have some gadget, you can also have listen to some lessons in a television or ETV, then over the radio also. That's the plan of the DepEd to promote equality. Next is the fourth principle is link and bridge the BE LCP to the DepEd's pivot to quality and into the future of education under the framework of Sulong Edukalidad. Okay. So the BELCP is the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan. So that is still approved by the IITF. Okay, given since we're already in the new normal, they have what we call in different learning modalities, which is set already as described in the third principle. Training seminars are conducted not only for the teachers but as well as parents and students so that they could easily adjust and to adopt in order to promote a globally competent individual since the DepEd really don't want learners to be left behind. Next, we also have the health protocols. Okay, the first objective is objective number 1, that is to strengthen its implementation of the school-based feeding program to severely wasted learners. So the government has planned, or the DepEd has planned of it. They are just planning. So we'll be waiting for the further announcement how they are to go through with it. The second one is mental health intervention that increase resilience, include mental health, psychological support such as psychological first aid, PFA, in-house counseling, session, online counseling, and support group. So if you will notice, we undergo also training regarding this because it's not only our financial, we're not only having financial difficulties, but this really cause stress and it could really affect our mental health. So if that suffer, obviously you cannot really be a productive individual. You cannot really serve the government. You cannot even do your work or do the task properly.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for that. So, again, according to Ma'am Melia, the first objective is to increase mental and physical resilience. So, as you can see, the Department of Education's objectives can be divided into two aspects. Namely, firstly, we have how we should respond, and the second one is about mitigation. So, the first one that Ma'am Melia discussed is all about how we should respond. That's why, according to Department of Education, we must increase our mental and physical resiliency. On the second one, the second objective of the Department of Education is mitigation. How? The first thing that we should do, according to them, is to reduce transmission. So there shall be designated isolation areas aligned with the standards set by the Department of Health. And all students, teachers, and personnel who will be entering the school office or premises shall use cloth masks. So it is expected po that each school must have number one, isolation areas. But secondly, all students, teachers, and personnel should wear face masks. So it is a requirement na po. They're not supposed to enter the school premises without wearing face masks. So it is a requirement. The third one, regular disinfection of schools and offices shall be conducted, and teachers shall regularly and closely monitor the health of their students. And lastly, students, teachers, and personnel who will be detected as having respiratory symptoms shall not be allowed in schools or offices. So it is encouraged that whenever a teacher identifies that he or she has particular symptoms related to COVID, it is highly recommended that that person must self-isolate for 2 weeks and observe the physical behavior as well as the symptoms he or she is experiencing. Now, the goal of these protocols is again to reduce transmission and to avoid the scattering of the disease, especially within the school premises po. So that is objective number 2.
So thanks, Sir JR, for the mitigation or COVID-19 mitigation number 3. The objective is to reduce contact and how we are to do it. So the first one is the DepEd shall issue social distancing at central and field offices. So if you are to observe, even the school, they have parang 1 seat apart or either maybe 1 seat apart na and any combination of work from home, skeleton, physically reporting, workforce, or other alternative work arrangement shall be put in place. So there will be time that they will be working from home, or there will be time that they have to attend or to go to their field to do their job or to do their duties. So as again guided by the IATF. So next is whenever you work from home arrangement are not possible, other efforts to maintain social distancing will also be in place. So even if you're just at home, please, even if you're with your family, social distancing is also important. So it would be better also if everyone at home will be wearing face masks, just for its safety. We also have a combination of different learning delivery modalities will be implemented on top of or to replace face-to-face learning delivery. That's why in TNCHS we have online learning and modular classes. So I think they have a plan already on how to go through with it. Other schools also made plan about it, and when they had their dry run, that it seems to be really effective. So the next one is all activities involving a large congregation of learners are canceled in the coming school year, provided that if it is to be conducted online, I think you can push through with it. Yung DSPC, yung journalism and all, yung mga sports events, so you cannot have it science fair and all. But provide you can have it only if it is online. Okay?
So the fourth objective po is to reduce duration of infection. So the second and the third one focus on mitigation. Now this one, what shall we do if someone, a teacher, a student, or a personnel acquires the virus? So here are the protocols from the Department of Education. The first one is that detection and isolation of symptomatic individuals must be ensured in schools and offices. Secondly, students, teachers, and personnel who are exhibiting symptoms shall immediately be referred to the school health personnel or nearest barangay, municipal, city health center. As much as possible po, please go to your nearest health municipality or barangay center. Other people po kasi what they do is that they ask for example, I know one case in which the person was positive. So ang ginawa niya, the person went to the hospital by calling Grab. Now, of course, the Grab driver has the possibility din na ma-acquire na yung virus. So we avoid contact. That is why we should follow the protocol. So as much as possible, when you're feeling that there's a particular symptom, please go to your nearest barangay center or health center. The third one, disinfection of the places within the school or office where the infected had been should immediately follow. So as much as possible, if there is a confirmed case from a staff of the school who frequently went to the school, as much as possible, the school should disinfect the entire area. And all work reports should be suspended temporarily as soon as disinfection has been facilitated. And then, should there be an infected student, teacher, or personnel, contact tracing within the school or office shall be done, and quarantine of students, teachers, or personnel who had direct contact with the infected person shall be observed. So what happens po is that when a person is confirmed to be positive of the coronavirus, what happens is that that person himself or herself will self-isolate, will observe quarantine measures. But hindi lamang po sila yung dapat mag-observe ng quarantine measures. Even those people who are with them within 2 weeks or more should also observe quarantine measures. So they should also self-isolate as soon as it is confirmed na positive sila o hindi. So that's the fourth one po, reduce the duration of the infection. Now, how did the TNCHS as a community respond to the virus? And what are our specific measures and how did we apply these protocols? So let's watch a video.
Nagdagdag ng contact tracing teams ang lokal na pamahalaan ng TNCHS para mas mapaigting ang pagtunton sa mga nakasalamuhan ng mga COVID-19 positive. Kaisa sa hakbang na ito ang PNP TNCHS, Bureau of Fire at Rural Health Unit. Pagtugon na rin ito sa panawagan ng gobyerno na palakasin ang contact tracing sa lalawigan ng Cavite.
Once na nag-positive ka, automatic yung family mo as first degree na contact. Ngayon, gusto nating makapag-focus din dun sa iba. Paano kung saan siya nagpunta, lumabas ba, or yung tinatawag natin ng mga second degree contact na o yung nakakontak ng family nila.
Nitong Huwebes, bumisita sa Cavite Province ang key officials ng National Task Force on COVID-19. Ibinahagi ni Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong na siyang itinalagang tracing czar sa mga lokal na opisyal ng Cavite ang contact tracing strategies nila sa City of Pines. Nasa pulong din sina Health Secretary Francisco Duque III at iba pang matataas na opisyal ng IATF. Nagsasagawa ng surprise inspection ng COVID-19 team ng TNCHS LGU para tiyaking nasusunod ang health protocol sa bayan. Sinisita nila ang mga taong hindi sumusunod sa social distancing. Pati mga food establishment na nagpapadine-in ng mga customers, walang kawala. Sa ilalim ng MECQ, delivery at takeout lang ang pwede.
So yan po, huwag kayong matatakot ho kung makikita nyo ang ating inspection team. Hindi sila dapat katakutan o dapat iwasan. Yan po, inilaunch po yan ng pamahalaang bayan nang sa ganoon po ma-ensure natin na maipasunod yung ating pong minimum health standard according po sa recommendation ng IATF.
Bilang pakikiisa sa pagdiriwang ng World Mask Week, hinihikayat ng Department of Health ang lahat na magsuot ng face mask ngayong may pandemya. Paraan ito para maiwasan ang hawahan ng COVID-19. Pwede raw mag-post ng statement, picture o video na naka-face mask at i-post sa inyong social media accounts. Bukod sa face mask, mandatory na rin ang pagsusuot ng face shield sa mga pampublikong sasakyan sa lalawigan ng Cavite simula August 15. Alinsunod yan sa rekomendasyon ng Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases. Pati sa mga workplace, isinusulong din na maging requirement na ang pagsusuot ng face shield.
Huwag kalimutan mag-mask at pati na rin face shield kahit saan magpunta. No? Basta't paglabas ng bahay, i-ready yung dalawang bagay. Dahil sinabi nga nila ngayon, ang pinakamasela na bahagi ngayon ng katawan is ang mukha. No? Bakit? Dahil ito ang part kung saan tayo ay pwedeng mahawa. So kung sa prevention pa lamang tayo ay gagalingan na natin, siguro malaki din ang chance na talagang hindi kumalat ang sakit.
As recommendation of the IATF, ito po yung paggamit po natin ng face shield. So hindi naman siguro siya ganun kaabala sa atin. At the same time, mas mapoprotektahan pa natin yung ating mata, or kung ang recommendation nga nila kahit nasa bahay tayo makapagsuot ng mask or makapagsuot ng face shield.
Nagkabit ng Bida Tarpaulin ang SK Federation ng TNCHS. Pakikisa ito ng Sangguniang Kabataan sa solusyon campaign ng DOH para labanan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19 infection. B. Bawal ang walang mask. I. Isanitize ang mga kamay. D. Dumistansya ng 1 metro. At A. Alamin ang totoong impormasyon. Paulit-ulit naman ang panawagan ng health authorities sa mga senior citizen at sa mga bata.
Ako, ayan po yung facilities, yan.
Well-treated ang mga tinamaan ng COVID-19 sa TNCHS na kasalukuyang nasa isolation facility. Bukod sa well-ventilated ang pasilidad, hindi raw nagkukulang sa pagrarasyon ng pagkain ng lokal na pamahalaan. Regular ding minomonitor ng mga doktor ang kondisyon ng mga COVID-19 positive. Mahigpit naman ang seguridad na ipinatutupad sa mga isolation facility.
Bawat isang pasyente ay may isang kama, no? Nakahiwalay. Parang may kwarto rin po siya dyan, ano? Sari-sariling kwarto. Pwede silang lumabas, pero sa panahon na sila i-check upin na, sabay-sabay silang pinapalabas sa open air. At doon sila isa-isang chine-check up ng doktor. Bawal yung mga matutulis na bagay, bawal ang mga, syempre, mga bawal na gamot at sigarilyo. Kaya bawat pumapasok dyan, ini-inspect lahat ng dala para ma-ensure na talagang safe ang mangyayari sa loob.
Inihatid na sa huling hantungan si Kapitan Emelito Mercado ng Barangay Dang Amaya 1 nitong Huwebes. Nasawi si Kap matapos pagbabarili ng hindi pa nakikilalang lalaki na sakay ng motorsiklo sa tapat mismo ng kanilang bahay noong isang linggo. Hustisya ang sigaw ng pamilya, mga kaanak at mga katrabaho ni Kap. Patuloy naman ang investigasyon ng pulisya sa krimen.
Oh, thank you, Sir JR. So now we'll proceed. I think TNCHS is ready in this normal stage. We are ready because I know employees prepared a lot for it. Okay, I think this is really their best plan. First one is they responded through only skeleton workforce are required to go to school. Majority of teaching and non-teaching staff are required to work from home. I think they're doing that already. They have the scheduled MWF. So, but doesn't mean that MWF, they're not gonna work. They have to work also Tuesday, Wednesday. Sometimes overtime. Okay, next slide, please.
All right, the second one is all personnel within the school premises are required to wear face masks. So as mentioned po kanina, all teachers, staff, and even the visitors will not be allowed to go to school unless they have a face mask with them. So again, the goal is to protect contamination of the virus. So not only for the person wearing the mask, but also for other people na makakasalamuha ng isang staff natin. The third one, ma'am?
Third one is the body heat temperature of each person entering the school premises must be checked. So obviously we're doing that. So if ever your temperature is 37 something, you need to be isolated for a while. So if your temperature goes down, then you can enter. But if you cannot, I'm so sorry. You have to go back. You cannot do anything. Okay, you cannot complain. Oh, next, please.
You have to observe proper measures. Okay, fourth one. The fourth one po is all school visitors must submit a health admission form and a COVID diary. Now, the health admission form confirms that the person is healthy and that he or she is aware of the physical condition that he or she has. Now, the COVID diary po, on the other hand, is extremely important because this will be the basis once we try to trace during the process of, for instance, when you are identified to be having the virus. So that one is for tracing, contact tracing. Then the health admission form is for your consent, giving consent to the fact that you're allowing people to have information about your health condition. The fifth one?
In addition to that, they have to accomplish it correctly, right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So, or else, you know what will happen to them. The next one is social distancing must be strictly observed. Obviously, no more beso. Agwat-agwat muna. Okay.
Yes.
So even if you wanted to hug, you cannot hug because social distancing must be observed. Even if you like to hug, you want to kiss, just simply wait.
Bawal muna.
Bawal.
Okay, so distancing is very important.
I mean, it shows that the school is really ready, right, Sir JR?
Yes, ma'am. I totally agree. Ready na kahit magkalayo.
Yes, even if I don't know yung online, I'm practicing, I am embracing. So good luck to us, and I'm sure we could give them the best as we can. We could offer them our service. We can come up with molding an individual which is a globally competitive one.
And this is also an opportunity for the school to grow beyond our comfort zone. So before, confined tayo sa nakasanayan natin, but now because of the new normal, we are pushed beyond our limits to discover more. And who would have thought, ma'am, di ba, na makakapag-ganito tayo? Online training, even modules.
Ako nga, di ba?
Yeah.
I really don't know how, but I am embracing pushing lang or one click lang. I'm having a hard
Yes.
time asking pa what am I going to do, stuck ka na
Mm-mm.
and all. But we really have to move on. Let us
Yes.
embrace. This is it. We cannot do
Mm-mm.
anything about this,
So,
sir,
we
right?
recognize, tama, we recognize na lamentable naman talaga yung nangyayari ngayon and no one really wanted this to happen. But we have to be flexible because
Yes,
education must continue. Okay? Thank you, ma'am.
of
Thank you po.
course.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
po.
the discussion. So, for the next part of the discussion, Ma'am Melia will be talking about true resiliency and how we should cope with our emotions and how we must deal and acknowledge them. Thank you.
Hi. How's everyone? How are you doing today? So I have here a self-check to assess yourself how you can handle this crisis that we're facing right now. So if you think you agree with the statement, so you better think agree or disagree, or maybe these are the options. So I will be reading this to you and you answer it in your mind. Are you ready? So the first statement is, I am experiencing full-blown stress and I'm freaking out. Second one, I find that uncertain terrifying and I don't know how to handle this. The third one, I hate change and then I will avoid it if I can. Number four, my past mistake and failure are caused by external factor that I cannot control, like bad things, bad luck, circumstances. I feel heavily discouraged when a situation doesn't go well. Did you answer it already? What's the result? Do you think you can handle this battle? Or you were not able to, or you will be having a hard time battling with this. But for today, you don't need to worry because we are here together with Sir JR for you to be able to give you some tips about achieving or what resiliency is. Okay? So in a current situation, so we all know it restricts us from a lot of things. So the first restriction is movement restriction. So we cannot go out anytime, anywhere we want, especially the young ones and the old ones, provided that they have what we call the Q pass or quarantine pass. Okay, there is what we call curfew hours. You cannot stay late outside. So you will be staying on a certain time or guidelines which is given to you. You have to be there. The second one is multiple precaution. We're not used to doing it, like wearing a face mask, and now we're wearing face shield, which we find it really uncomfortable. Okay, we also have the frequent hand washing and sanitizing and even social distancing. Those are the thing is those are not really comfortable, but this is it. The second one is, or the third one rather, it is the multiple adjustment, working from home. So we work from home, then we are attending our tasks at home, like rearing our families, doing some tasks at home, especially if you're a mom. Then if you have kids who is doing online classes, they need what we call supervision as well. Okay? It is really hard. Okay? You have to learn how to manage it. Plus, there will be time wherein you will not be staying at home. Okay, you need to go to your workplace if that is guided or following the guidelines set by the IATF. Okay, those are multiple adjustments that we are having. But right now, we really have to be resilient. We have to learn how to manage our emotions in order to overcome this battle. Next slide, please. Okay. Disaster, it is a sudden event that causes great loss of life. So COVID-19 can be considered a disaster. Okay. We must learn how to manage this thing. So first one is we have to be prepared. So preparedness, as the saying goes, you have to be failure to prepared is preparing to fail. Second one is response. You have to respond to what you have prepared and eventually you will recover it, then you are to prevent something. So unlike many other disasters, no one was prepared for this pandemic. It took us by surprise. Even experts, they didn't know what is happening. Next, recovery is not yet defined here. Although the professionals and other teams are really working on it regarding the vaccine to be able to give it to the Filipinos so that we will be avoiding this. These negative emotions such as fear, worry, anxiety, depression, and panic. Okay, don't you worry. Okay, these are all normal in this abnormal situation. Everybody felt the same way also. Okay, remember you're not alone. They are also there. Okay, these are normal emotion in this abnormal situation. Fear and anxiety. So whenever we're experiencing disaster, there's what we call fear and anxiety. So these two terms usually go together, but they could not be interchanged. They're two different things. Okay, they're totally different. When we speak about fear, it came from a specific cause. Say, for example, your neighborhood got infected with the virus. So tendency is you have a fear of that you might get infected as well. So that is the specific cause of your uh, fear. So the second one is anxiety. Okay, it is really diffuse. Right? You don't know where it come from. So maybe from the personal experiences, from the experiences of other people, from the news feed that you're reading. So news coming from the net, coming from the television. So think all of those things that you are hearing in the surrounding. Okay, it that is like that, right? There's no specific cause. Okay, well, the second one is here and now. So yung fear, you're fearful on that particular moment. Okay, then when anxiety, you're thinking or overthinking about what is going to happen. It's not really happening, but you're thinking of all of this thing. You overthink, then you cannot sleep anymore because of that. You're thinking about it. Okay, it didn't happen, you're still thinking about it. So next is in fear, narrowing of attention. So whenever you're fearful, your initial reaction is either to fight or to flight. Okay, that is that one. So you only focuses on that thing. Next one is the expansion of attention. Okay, for example, you're somebody opens the door, nighttime, the telephone rings, and you try to look at somebody maybe stalking or somebody will be doing something bad about you. So that's the difference between fear and anxiety. Do not interchange. Okay. So many people are grieving because of the loss of their loved one. So remember, grief is really universal. No one is exempted to it. Everyone might be grieving. It could be in different form. It will happen at different time also. And if you're grieving, obviously, you feel the deeper sadness. And that sadness is connected to identifiable cause. So next one is fluctuating ability to feel pleasure. So even if things that will make you happy couldn't make you happy anymore. So that didn't work anymore. So even if that is for free, say if somebody treat you or give you or something, say delivering you pizza, milk tea, anything treating you sa Netflix and all, for anything will not be effective anymore because you are depressed. You have what we call yung feeling of depression. You're feeling the pain. Then getting comfort through the closeness with others. So there are times yung thumbs up that you receive from the messenger, sticker, emoji, smiling face which are given to you. Okay, it really helps us to lighten our day. It really means a lot, especially to those who are suffering, to those who are grieving. You really don't know that you're really inspiring them and making them to regain their confidence. Next one is wanting to be reunited through thoughts of death. If you think it is already a dead end for you, you're losing your loved one. Okay? You really wanted to be with that person. Okay, to the point that you will be thinking about death, but it's not right. So if you think that that is really your reason or that is really your way for you to be able to solve something or to ease the pain, I think there is what we call hotline or suicide hotline in the Philippines, wherein it could help you. That is Hope Hotline. They will help you manage or control unwanted thoughts. Okay. Next slide, please. We have 5 stages of grief. The first one is denial. So it is the situation that is not true, holding on to a different reality. So say, for example, you had a loss of your loved one because of COVID. So most probably you will be thinking this can't be true. It might be somebody else. It couldn't be him because he made a promise that we'll be together. Okay, we have to do this, we have to do that. That's the denial. You cannot accept the reality that it is really over for you. Second one is anger. So you face with the new reality looking for someone to blame. See, for example, this is really happening and then you're really blaming the medical practitioner. If and only if they do this, it won't happen. Okay, say for example, you're at home, you're nagging at your kids simply to express your anger to something else. Next is the third one, bargaining. You're trying to face new reality, trying to change something. These are really common to some, but I don't know if everybody's doing this. Others are really making bargains. Say, for example, uh, Lord, please bring back his life. Then I promise to, I'll pray the rosary 3 times a day. I'll do the novena. Um, I'll serve the community. I will do this. I will do that. Or either if and only if I did not ask him to go outside, he will not be infected. So that's bargaining. The fourth one is depression. Okay, this is setting into sadness and able to move forward. It is really a quiet time. It's me time or that is alone time. So when you're sad, it doesn't mean that you're really escaping from the reality. Okay, but it's your me time because you're still processing. You are still working on how you are to move on. Okay, if you are stuck in a corner, you don't know how to move forward, I think you better ask the help of the medical team who can help you deal with that problem. The last one is acceptance. Okay, embracing the reality is the finality of what is going to happen. Okay? You learn how to embrace that someone with you is no longer with you anymore. So you have to live your life without the person. But it doesn't mean you are forgetting the person. It will already be a start of the new beginning. Obviously, your loved one will not be happy seeing you suffering, seeing you crying, seeing you losing your way. So obviously they won't be happy, and even the Lord wouldn't be happy looking at you like that. But remember, God made a promise that we have to prosper in the end. Okay? But it doesn't mean that God gave us this. Okay. But actually, this stages doesn't mean that we have to reach or to follow this stage, all of this. So it could be in random or either maybe you don't bargain, you proceed agad right away, or you started with anger, so you didn't proceed with the denial and all. Okay. Here, and then I have here the coping strategies, which will help you, or that those are the steps for us to be able to solve the problem. Okay. Next slide, please. Prepare for the worst. And like what I've said earlier, in thought quotation given by Benjamin Franklin is, by failing to prepare, you're preparing yourself to fail. Okay. Do not deny the negative possibility. Say, for example, you are infected with the virus. What we're going to do is just we simply ran away because we don't want our relatives to think about it or to be bothered, seriously think about it. Okay. You have to talk to them and tell them, you have to be open because our family is always there for us no matter what. They are the one or the only person you can run to in times like this. Okay. Next, you prepare for a possible hospitalization. Okay. You should know the agency where you are to run to, so if ever you're infected. So you know the person you are to call, so you get ready with it so that you are not gonna have a hard time since you cannot even go out. You can just go to the nearest hospital because it could be really dangerous for you. Your illness might be cured, but it wouldn't be cured, rather it will be doubled if the third one is fix your budget. So you allot budget in case of emergency. So in times like this, so you have something to get. So do not expect others to help you because their budget is also tight. They are really preparing for this also. If they decline or they say no, then that will be alright. Okay, because they are all facing this, or we are all facing this. Next slide, please. So you must learn how to acknowledge and accept. Okay. Learn to accept that things you cannot change. This is it. So remember, change is constant. Okay. What you can do is you have to take a deep breath like this. Okay. It could learn you how to accept and absorb. You learn how to accept and absorb all of those things that we're doing right now. You have to learn to live with this change. The second one is you have to observe your thoughts, emotions, and behavior because this will really help you in acknowledging and accepting the reality. But again, if you think that you can manage it, so you seek the help of the professional. The third one is you proceed with your life. Life must go on. You cannot do about this. This is it. So together, you're not just one. We can be one in order to face this battle. Let us all help and each other and be united. Just go with the flow. Okay. These are the things that you can do. Next slide, please. Do what you can do. First one is you have to try to be productive. Make use of your skills. If you think you're into baking, if you think you're into cooking, then do that. Okay, you can make it as a hobby and soon you can make it as a business, so another income for you. So you tend to be productive. Okay, you can also inspire others. Okay, make use of your time. Okay, time management. Make sure that you are to allot time for every task that you are to do for the day. Allot your time. It doesn't mean you're working from home. You will be working all the time at home. No. So the next one is it will help you respond and prevent the infection. Next slide. So it will help you respond and prevent the infection. So by following the health protocol, as we all know, we have to stay at home. Though we don't like it, we have to do it. Observe physical distancing, do proper hand washing frequently, and decontamination. We are not used to doing it. We have to do it. For prevention, remember, next, the best thing that you can do is to take care of yourself. Okay, how you are to deal with it. Exercise. Okay, yoga, Zumba that you're watching in the net could help. Simple stretching. Okay, it will really help you. And you have to eat healthy food. That doesn't mean that it must be expensive. You can eat kamote and all, but I think so you'll be getting at your backyard. That will be enough for as long as that is healthy. Then sleep well. So you have to sleep um, 8 hours. So do not forget that. So do not spend much of your time working on your work overtime or take a break. So you sleep. Okay, do not spend much of your time in the Netflix. Then take a relaxation break. So home spa could be better one. You have to take a nap. Okay, board games with the family, it will help you. So it doesn't mean that you will be working on with the computer 8 hours. So you have to have break also. Okay. Fourth, minimize the use of social media. Just you have to be informed only. Okay, because there are times what you see in the social media could intensify the situation. So you are bothered, you are affected because anytime you'll be thinking of COVID updates, PUI, PUM, confirmed cases, it will give you alarm. Is it indang amaya dos? Parang you don't want to go out anymore. So it wouldn't be that way. So you minimize. The most important thing is you are informed. Okay. The last one is do quiet time. Find time to contemplate. Okay. Find time to meditate, say a prayer, say, ask yourself, Okay. Am I doing good? Am I really progressive while I am at home? So a quiet time, read the Bible. This could help. Alone time or me time. Next slide, please. Okay. Allow things to happen. So you cannot do anything about this. Okay. Like what I've said, you go with the flow. This is it. So keep in mind that nothing is permanent. Okay. The only permanent here is the change itself. So you have to find meaning, a purpose. So look at the brighter side of it. So you have to learn how to move on with this. Do not think, do not take things personally. It's not because of you. Okay, it's not because of all. Everybody is experiencing this. Everyone is experiencing this thing. Okay, you are not alone. There are people who are with you battling. Next, please. Next slide, please. So one more. This is our presentation talks about the disaster management cycle. I started it with preparedness, response, recovery, mitigation, or prevention. Now, next slide. Let me read to you a serenity prayer, which sums up, okay, the lecture or the talk that we had today. Okay, so just read with me. The serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as pathway to peace. Taking as Jesus did the simple world as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that you will make all things right. If I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life, and I supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. So I hope you get some insight from us. Okay, you just stay safe and be happy all the time. Keep smiling. Thank you.
Thank you po, Ma'am Elia, for your discussion on resiliency. So tunay nga naman na bagamat ganito po ang nangyayari sa atin ngayon, bagamat marami tayong kinaharap na problema, financial or sa ating economy, sa ating health, kalusugan, with the pandemic, kailangan po natin mag-proceed sa normal nating pamumuhay. At dahil po dyan, aside from being resilient, another tip that we can give you, some tips that have something to do with work from home. So for this one po, I'll be discussing tips and tools that can help you become more productive. So we recognize na talaga namang mahirap magtrabaho sa bahay dahil hindi naman ito nakagisnan po natin. Pero we can find ways kung paano natin ibabalanse ang ating oras without compromising our relationships with our family or without compromising the quality of work that we can produce for our students. So ngayon po, I'll be giving 8 practical tips, and after that po, I'll be discussing at least 4 management styles that you can apply, especially if you have issues with your time po. So let's start. So reality check po muna tayo. So reality check, we have different duties and roles to fulfill. So hindi lamang po tayo teacher, iba-iba po ang ating role. At ang role na yan ay nakadepende sa kung sinong grupo ang kasama natin. So for instance, tayo ay guro. Sa ating trabaho, ang goal natin ay makapag-arrange ng papers para sa mga bata or mag-prepare para sa darating na pasukan. Mag-prepare ng lesson plan na ngayon ay tawag ay idea exemplar or mag-prepare ng module, mag-prepare ng online classes natin. So that in itself ay medyo may kabigatan na dahil ibang kind of preparation ang ating tinatahak ngayon. Dahil ngayon po ay new normal. So lahat tayo ay hindi pamilyar at ngayon ay kinakabisado pa natin ang mga bagay na dapat nating gawin. So yan ang una nating task. We are teachers. Pero hindi lamang natatapos sa pagiging guro ang ating trabaho. Aside from being a teacher, some of us are also parents. So as parents, you also have the responsibility to take care of the house, to take care of your children, or sometimes to take care of your partner. So pati pag-organize ng pera, pagluluto, paglalaba, pagpaplansya, lahat ng mga bagay na dapat asikasuhin para sa ikabubuti ng ating mga pamilya ay ginagawa ng mga magulang. O sometimes sa ibang bahay naman, ang anak ang responsable. So either way, we also have shared responsibility within our homes. So hindi lamang tayo teacher, ang iba sa atin ay magulang din. O ang iba naman ay anak na may responsibilidad sa kanilang mga tahanan. Pero aside from being a parent and a teacher, some of us even have tasks in studying. So iba sa atin ay nag-aaral for masteral or for PhD halimbawa. So that's another responsibility that one must carry. So yung iba required pang mag-aral, required pang magbasa, required na gumawa ng research. So as you see, sabay-sabay siyang responsibility. Before, bago magkaroon ng pandemic, ang ginagawa natin ay hinahati natin siya. Depende kung nasa ang lugar tayo. So halimbawa, kung tayo ay teacher, tinatapos natin hangga't maaari ang ating trabaho sa loob ng classroom or sa loob ng faculty. Kung ikaw naman ay student, hangga't maaari, ginagawa mo ang iyong responsibilidad sa loob ng school o kung saan mo gustong mag-aral. Kung ikaw naman ay magulang, hangga't maaari, niyayakap mo ang iyong responsibilidad sa loob ng tahanan. Pero pagdating sa labas, ibang responsibilidad naman ang iyong ginagawa. Pero ang problema ngayon, lahat ng responsibilidad na ito ay nakaipit sa isang lugar lamang. At ito ay ang tinatawag nating tahanan ng ating bahay. So unlike before, nahati natin ating mga sarili, ngayon hindi na. Lahat sila ay present pa rin, lahat ng roles natin ay nandyan pa rin, pero yung lugar kung saan natin siya ginagawa ay limited na lamang sa ating mga tahanan. Kaya dahil dyan, karamihan sa atin nahihirapan kasi hindi natin alam kung paano babalansehin. Kailan ba ako dapat maging magulang? Kailan ba dapat ako maging anak? Kailan ba dapat ako maging kaibigan? Kailan ko dapat gawin ang aking trabaho? Kailan ko dapat tapusin ang aking school projects? So dahil dito sa pandemic na to, lahat tayo ay nahihirapang mag-adjust pagdating sa oras. Kaya ngayong araw na to, ang ating tanong na sasagutin ay how to find the right work and life balance. So at the end of the discussion, our goal is for you to know how you can figure out ways on balancing both your work and life balance without compromising any. We recognize that both are important. What you need to do is to find ways as to how you can balance them. Okay, so that your goal is to function effectively as a teacher, as a parent, as a child, as a friend, and as a student. Okay, so those are our goals for today. So here are the tips in order for you to do that. Tip number 1, you have to identify your working hours. What does that mean? Number 1, you need to set a schedule that helps you know when to work and when you must limit it. So we need to identify when to work. Kasi una, it sets our mind. So kahit na nasa bahay tayo, kailangan nating i-adjust ang ating thinking. Na pagdating ng ganitong oras, for example, sinet kong time sa pagtatrabaho ko is around 8 o'clock. So at around 8 o'clock, dapat nakafocus ako sa aking trabaho. So what does it do? It helps you concentrate, that's one. But secondly, aside from concentrating, it also helps you limit your work. So ibig sabihin, my work should be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. only. At 5 p.m., dapat tapos ko na siya lahat. Bakit po mahalaga yan? Kasi nababalansin natin. So nakakapag-concentrate tayo doon sa limited na oras na yon, and at the same time, nakapag-function tayo ng maayos sa ating trabaho, and nakapag-allot tayo ng time para sa ibang bagay na dapat nating gawin. So yun po ang mahalaga, we need to set our working hours. So for example, kung required po tayo magtrabaho within 6 hours, you need to find on your calendar which specifically on your timetable should you work. Kung saan ka mas effective hanggat maaari at kung saan ka mas gising. Yan. So that's one, you need to identify your working hours. So how do you do that? You need to create a routine. Pero it doesn't necessarily mean po na pagkagising mo sa umaga, magtrabaho ka agad. No. You need to do morning rituals so that it can help you reawaken yourself and concentrate and plan out at the same time. But the most important thing, why you need to identify your working hours so that you will not overwork. Again, it doesn't mean na pagkat nasa bahay tayo, extra miles na ang ating magiging trabaho. Hanggat maaari po sana, hindi po. Kung ano yung quality ng work na ginagawa natin before the normal, kung gaano karami yun, Same lang din dapat yung gagawin natin sa loob sa ating trabaho na nasa loob ng tahanan. So do not overwork hangga't maaari, just learn how to balance it. Because work is just one area of our lives. So that's the goal. Number one, you need to identify your working hours. Second, aside from identifying your working hours, you also need to designate a workspace. So I think marami po sa atin nakahanap na ng workspaces natin bago pa during work from home nung magsisimula pa lamang tayo kung saan inayos natin yung isang space, nilagyan natin ng table, ng upuan, ng yung laptop natin, and other reading materials. Ngayon, bakit po mahalaga yun? One, you need to choose a spot so that you know where to concentrate. Kailangan po natin makahanap ng spot hangga't maaari ay mas madali sa inyo na makapag-focus sa trabaho. Ngayon, mahalaga ang focus kasi kung mas focus tayo, mas mabilis natin na-produce yung dapat natin gawin. So it doesn't waste our time. So hangga't maaari, you need to choose a spot na hindi ka maiistorbo. And we understand na iba-iba ang ating types ng ating mga tahanan at may ibang mga bahay na may malalaking spaces para dito. May iba naman na sadyang hindi ganun kalaki yung spaces. Hangga't maaari, hindi naman palakihan ng spaces ang labanan dito. Let's just find a space in which parang mare-respect ng mga kasama natin sa tahanan yung space natin, and at the same time, komportable tayo sa space na yun. So, kumbaga, hindi naman siya kailangan ng parang sariling kwarto, as long as you have a table siguro, as long as you can pile up your files or arrange your stuff there sa isang specific space na yun, I think that will do po. Basta ang goal po natin, you need to find a workspace that you can concentrate and manage your work well. That's the first one. The second one is, you need to negotiate with your family. Now, why is it important? Kasi, we need to tell them na at this time, I need to work. So, mamaya nyo na lang ako siguro utusan or mamaya na lang tayo siguro mag-usap about sa ganito kasi I need to finish a certain task. Again, our goal to this one, so number 2, is for you to also focus. Kasi you need to negotiate with your family. You need to tell them na at this time I should be working, then maybe I can address our personal concerns later so that at least you can also focus. And number 3, kadalasan this is taken for granted, but this is also important. Do not work in bed. Hangga't maaari, pagkagising, wag po muna magtrabaho agad. Kasi ang tendency natin is to drain ourselves. So for example, nagising tayo 6:30, nakita natin may work task agad, pagkakuha ng phone, trinabaho nyo na agad. So ang mangyayari dyan, madidrain tayo. Kasi kailangan natin at least mentally makapag-prepare bago natin gawin ang isang trabaho. So mahalaga po yun. So do not take it for granted. You need to relax yourself first before you go to work. So as much as possible, do not do your work in bed. Others will do it kasi parang it saves time. Pero kasi ang tendency niyan is to push you na dire-diretso na to the point na hindi mo na mababalanse yung oras mo. So therefore, do not work in bed yet. Do routines muna, as like what I mentioned kanina. Then after that, you do your work. Okay, so that's for number 2, designate a workspace. Number 3, you need to set SMART goals for today. What does that mean? So SMART po, I think all of us are familiar with this. So when we say SMART, these are the criteria for writing an objective. So an objective or a goal should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Ngayon, bakit po ito mahalaga? Or paano natin siya gagawin? Una, you need to list down your goals for today before you do a task. Others po kasi ang ginagawa, they do a task. Tapos kung ano lang yung matapos nila throughout the day, yun na yun. And sometimes, kahit na may natapos sila, it becomes quite frustrating kasi hindi nila nagawa yung bagay na gusto pa sana nilang gawin. Ngayon, to avoid frustration, it is better that before you do a task, you list down your goals muna. You list down a checklist. And then through the checklist, it will help you or it will guide you in achieving kung ano ba nga yung mga dapat mong gawin at kung ilang oras mo sila dapat gawin. So therefore, it brings more satisfaction when you see that you're able to reach a goal kaysa yung gumagawa ka ng activities, tapos doon mo lang marirealize na may mga hindi ka pala nagawa. That's one. Number 2, it doesn't necessarily mean na kapag SMART goals ay work goals lang siya. Hangga't maaari po sana, you need to integrate your work goals with your personal tasks. So it doesn't necessarily mean that through the 8 hours, work lang ang gagawin ko. Paano kung may free time? So you need to do work pa rin ba? What if may urgent task? You still need to work pa rin ba? Hanggat maaari po sana, you have to integrate. So for example, ang work schedule ko is around 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And then, na-realize ko, si mama pala, kailangan niya ng uniform. Kasi nag-work sila. Or your parents ko, kailangan nila ng damit. Ganyan. So for example, perhaps you can manage siguro at 8 to 10, magtatrabaho akong ganito. 10 to 11, maglalaba ako. Or 10 to 12, maglalaba ako. Then 12 to 1, siguro lunch break muna. Then 1, balik ako sa work. You have to integrate them. Integrate your work goals with your personal tasks para hindi ka ma-overburden. So at least you get to see paano nagpo-flow yung araw mo at kung na-achieve mo ba yung goals mo ng maayos within the day. So that's number 3, set smart goals. Also, you need to track your progress. Saan ba yung natapos ko? Well, hindi naman po agad na kapag nagplano tayo, lahat naman yun mangyayari agad. It doesn't happen that way. So you need to check your progress. Ano yung kulang ko? Saan ako mag-i-improve para bukas, mas ma-apply ko ng maayos, mas mapagbuti ko ng maayos ang mga bagay na dapat kong gawin. So that's number 3, you need to set smart goals. Number 4, you need to set healthy boundaries. This one is also important. Paano po tayo nag-set ng healthy boundaries? Ano po ba ang boundaries muna? Okay? So when you say boundaries, it means na hanggat maaari, we divide the time that we have. Halimbawa, yung personal time natin is just a personal time. Atin lang yun. We do not allow other people to waste that personal time. Or, for example, if it's your time with your friends, then spend the time only with your friends. Set healthy boundaries. Ngayon, bakit po yan mahalaga? Again, our topic for today is about balance. So mahalaga na we achieve balance by setting healthy boundaries. Anong oras dapat ko gawin ang trabaho ko? Anong oras ko dapat ubusin yung oras ko para manood ng movie? Anong oras ko dapat ubusin yung time para kumain, halimbawa? So you need to set healthy boundaries because again, all of those factors are important. So you need to divide your time. So una, why is that important? Kasi if we do not set healthy boundaries, ang tendency natin is to drain ourselves with work. Ngayon, when we become drained, we lack the energy that we need to focus on other things. So you need to set healthy boundaries so that you won't drain yourself at work. Secondly, you need to make time for your other important roles. We agree, mahalaga ang work, and we do not tolerate laziness. Hanggat maaari po sana, we need to be productive talaga. Pero, again, katulad ng binanggit ko kanina, ang pamilya natin ay mahalaga, ang mga kaibigan natin ay mahalaga, ang pahinga natin ay mahalaga. So we also need to set time for them. We also need to make time for yourself. So you're created to work, but not just to work. You're also created to rest. Again, there's always time for everything. So that principle applies. That's why setting healthy boundaries is really important because that sets our balance. Okay, so that's for number 4. 5, take a lunch break. It doesn't mean na 10 hours tayo nagtatrabaho or 9 hours straight. Katulad ng binanggit ko kanina, aside from integrating your goals with your personal tasks, you also need to take some break. 1 hour lang. So close your laptop for an hour and then go away. Go away from your workspace para ma-detach mo yung sarili mo so that you can really have some time to rest. Again, rest is really important. Number 2, you need to step away from work, as mentioned. And 3, do something that relaxes you. Eat a lot. For an hour, eat a lot. Watch Showtime kahit nawala na siya sa TV, or if you want to go to YouTube and search for the show, you may do so. Read a book. Talk to your friends. As long as it relaxes you so that the pressure will ease down. So when you go back to work, you have at least revitalized energy that can help you become more productive. Okay, so that's for number 5. Take a lunch break. Number 6, avoid multitasking. So some of us are tempted to think na for an hour, dapat matapos ko yung 4 tasks. Sabay-sabay. Mag-check ako ng journal, mag-type ako ng grades, mag-encode ako ng grades, tapos kakain ako, tapos maglalaba ako habang nakikinig ng seminar, habang nakikinig ng webinar. Hanggat maaari po sana, we don't do this. We avoid multitasking. Why? Number one, you need to keep yourself in work mode when working. So, ang tendency ng iba, multitasking, manonood ng K-drama habang nagtatrabaho or iba-ibang tasks. Bakit po hindi encourage 'yan? Kasi imbes na mapaiksi mo yung time para magtrabaho ka, ang nangyayari napapahaba. Kasi hindi ka concentrated sa ginagawa mong trabaho. So ang tendency is to go to and to watch TV while working. So yung work mo na dapat sana ay 30 minutes lang na matatapos, nagiging 2 hours kasi distracted ka with what you're watching. So that's the problem with multitasking. So hangga't maaari, one task at a time. So for example, naglalaba ka habang nagwe-webinar. Good thing nakatapos ka sa paglalaba, pero hindi mo nag-digest ng maayos yung sinasabi sa webinar. So at some point kasi may mako-compromise at mako-compromise. So instead na magkaroon ng quality product with what you're doing, ang nangyayari ay nako-compromise because your attention is divided into two or more. So therefore, how do you deal with it? Use your scheduled breaks to do other tasks. Huwag mo siyang pagsabay-sabayin. So for example, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, ang goal ko ay makatapos ng isang page ng module. And then 15-minute break. So, or 30-minute break after that. So for the first hour, focus ka lang sa module. And then 30 minutes, watch a TV show muna. Watch Avatar, The Legend of Aang, or watch Korean novela, anything that you like. So you need to, kung may kailangan kang gawin na ibang tasks, gawin mo siya during your breaks. And stick to the amount of time you set. Focus on that time. Do not allow yourself to get sidetracked. When you assign yourself, for example, to work from 2 to 3 o'clock, and for example, you assign yourself to prepare a lesson, then finish that within that hour. So you need to stick to the amount of time you set. That's for number 6. Again, you need to avoid multitasking. And I think this one I already mentioned kanina po. Number 7, don't work after you wake up. Now, let me explain why further. 1, working after the moment you wake up will get you sucked in. So meaning, when you start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and when you feel that you're driven, magtutuloy-tuloy siya. So the tendency is for you to finish it at 7 p.m. na dahil nagtuloy-tuloy na siya. So therefore, it's harder for you to detach yourself from it. Kasi yun yung gumising sa'yo. So dire-diretso na siya. Again, our goal is to have balance. Hindi lang work throughout. We need to have balance. Because again, everything happens within our household. So you also need to address your roles in your functions in other situations or other setups. Number 2, you will be bound to burn out. So you will be bound to burn out, and as mentioned kanina. And number 3, hangga't maaari, take some routine first before starting your work. So pray muna or read the Bible siguro because it helps you relax and helps you collect the energy that you need. Kasi when you lack the time to concentrate and to have your me time, the tendency is for you to just spit out all your energy. Mas madali po siyang maubos kapag ganoon. So hangga't maaari, you try to compose yourself, collect all the energy you have. Then once everything has been collected, once your concentration has been set, it will be easier for you to have a direction throughout the day. So that's number 7. Don't work after you wake up po. And so number 8 po, you need to plan activities after work hours. So what does that mean? Again, our goal is not only to be productive at work. You also need to be productive in other areas of your life. So for example, sa setup po natin before, in my case po, halimbawa, panggabi po ako, so my work is until 7 p.m. So 7 p.m., literal po, di ba, umuwi tayo. So let's imagine ourselves to be in that position then. For example, sa schedule nyo, 5 o'clock, tapos ng work. Imagine yourself leaving work. So therefore, you need to tidy up your space. Ligpit na, then leave work. Close your laptop. Detach na from work. Okay, so again, you need to relax din. Relax, exercise, watch TV shows. So plan activities after then. Again, our goal is to have a balance. Okay, so those are the 8 plans or 8 tips that we can use so you can be productive and find the right balance for your life and for your work. So aside from these practical tips, I'll also be discussing time management techniques that you can use so you can be further productive. So aside from the tips that I mentioned po kanina, you can also try the following time management techniques. Ngayon, how do we like go through each minute of every hour of our work? So here are some techniques po that you can specifically do, especially when your goal is to manage your time and balance it with your work. Number one, meron po tayong tinatawag na 18-minute principle. So when you say 18-minute principle, ito po yung rules niya. One, sa umaga, the tip is reflect within 5 minutes in the morning. 5 minutes lang po. Identify your goals for today. That will make your day successful. For example, for today, my goal is to do the 3 pages of module and then update LESF. So list down all of them. So wag mo nang birada agad. Give yourself 5 minutes to prepare your goals. And then, as you go through the work na, so you have 5 minutes na. And then, during your 8-hour work, for each minute of that hour, you reflect and assess your productivity. So for example, your work is from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 to 4. So 8 to 9, work. 9 o'clock to 9:01, 1 minute, reflect. Ano na bang nagawa ko so far? Okay bang trabaho ko so far? Productive ba ako? Yes or no? Yes, why? No, why not? And then each hour of your 8-hour work should have at least a minute in order for you to reflect on your productivity. And then number 3, use 5 minutes of your evening to review everything you accomplished for the day. So 5 minutes po kanina to plan, then ngayon sa gabi naman 5 minutes to review and to reflect. Ngayon, this technique works especially if you are a reflective person, yung tao mahilig magsulat po, mag-journal, ganyan. Pero others do not prefer that. Parang hanggat maaari, when I rest, ayoko na isipin yun. Tapos na yun. So maybe this one is not for you, but for those who like reflecting and thinking about their performance throughout the day, the 18-minute principle will be effective for you po. So that's one 18-minute principle. The second one is what we call the 20-20-20 principle. So for every 20 minutes, you take your eyes off the computer. So for every 20 minutes, remove your eyeglasses if you have. Do not stare on the laptop and take your eyes off somewhere. And then stare at an object that is at least 20 feet away for 20 seconds. You need to timer yourself. So for example, I'm working 20 minutes and then stare somewhere na malayo, 20 feet away. Then remove your eyeglasses, just relax yourself. And for 20 seconds. Why? So that your eyes will not be strained and your body will also not feel exhausted. So you have some time at least to relax yourself. And then stretch or drink water during your breaks. So again, that's 20-20-20 principle. The goal is for your eyes not to be strained and for your body not to be exhausted. So you have to, from time to time, have some sort of rest when you work. So that's the second one po. And then the third one is what we call the Pareto principle. So this one po, the Pareto principle, ang principle po niya actually is 20% of your input produces 80% of your output. So medyo komplikado po siya. Pero let's just take the most practical area. So for the Pareto principle, what you will do is you will rank the tasks on a scale from A to C according to their importance and urgency. Ano po ibig niya sabihin? Bago tayo magtrabaho, plano muna tayo. Ano yung mga bagay na gagawin ko throughout the day? Then, divide niyo po siya sa 3. Unang category, important and urgent tasks. Identify which of your tasks are important and urgent. Ibig sabihin, malapit na yung deadline or kailangan na talaga ngayong matapos. Second, important tasks that are not urgent. Mahahalagang tasks, pero hindi pa naman urgent, hindi pa naman ngayon ang deadline. For example, module. Mahalaga siya kasi gagamitin ng mga bata, pero ang deadline niya ay 3 weeks pa naman. So list them down on this category. And then, number 3, tasks that are neither important nor urgent. Hindi mahalaga, hindi rin naman urgent. Gusto ko lang gawin, trip ko lang. Okay, so you also need to identify them. List them all down in 3 columns. And then, example, important para sa akin, halimbawa, or urgent, class list, kasi hinihingi na ng guidance. Work from home sheets, kasi kailangan nang i-update ang school. Lesson exemplar kasi magsisimula na ang pasukan. So these are important or urgent tasks for today. For me, important tasks that are not urgent, module, or wash clothes. Medyo marami na labahan pero hindi naman ako aalis pa. Pwede ko naman siyang gawin sa susunod na araw. And then tasks that are neither important or urgent, papagupit, or watch TV, or for the others, watch Korean novela. So you have to classify them into 3. And then once you classify them into 3, ipagpaliban niyo po muna yung trabaho, yung gagawin ninyo na hindi naman mahalaga at hindi naman urgent. Tsaka niyo na siya gawin kapag natapos niyo na yung nasa dalawang category. So yun po yung una. So you can concentrate. Ito yung kailangan kong gawin. You can convince yourself na kailangan ko muna mag-focus dito. Kumbaga, the temptation, which are the tasks that are not important or urgent, will be set aside for a while. Then look at the 2, important and urgent tasks, and important tasks that are not urgent. So go po muna doon sa unang column, important and urgent tasks. Ngayon, sila pong uunahin ninyo. Pero para hindi siya sobrang bigat, tignan niyo po muna, which among the 3 is the easiest? Yun po yung una niyong gawin. In my case, para sa akin, ang pinakamadali yung class list. So dito ko muna sisimulan. Important siya, urgent, tsaka madali. So dito ko sisimulan. And then siguro next ko na yung work from home sheet. And then pangatlo yung lesson exemplar. So ganyan po yung the Pareto principle. Okay? Last one po. You have the Pomodoro technique. And this is something that I personally use po. So when you say Pomodoro, what it does are the following. 1, you need to set 25 minutes to work without any distraction. Timer po tayo ng 25 minutes. Tapos within 25 minutes, walang istorbo, walang ibang gagawin, kundi yung work lang. Magbabasa ng 25 minutes, basa lang ng 25 minutes. Gagawa ng work from home sheet, gawa lang ng work from home sheet within 25 minutes. Gagawa ng module, gawa lang ng module within 25 minutes. Focus within 25 minutes without any distraction. And then, after your 25-minute work, set a 5-minute break. Pahinga lang muna, 5 minutes. Facebook, CR break, water, food. So 5 minutes lang po. Break lang po yun, walang kinalaman sa work. Then once you have the 25-minute work and the 5-minute break, congratulations, you have completed 1 Pomodoro. So yung isang rotation po na yun na 25 minutes na work and 5-minute break, again, ang tawag po dun ay isang rotation ng Pomodoro. Ngayon, after 1 Pomodoro, same routine po. 25 minutes work, 5-minute break. Nakadalawa na. Isa pa ulit, 25-minute work, 5-minute break. And then last one, 25-minute work, 5-minute break. So nakailang Pomodoro na po, naka-4 na tayong Pomodoro. Ngayon kapag naka-4 na po tayong Pomodoro, 15 to 30-minute break po tayo. So 25, 5, 25, 5, 25, 5, 25, 5. And then you have 1 complete Pomodoro, 1 complete set of Pomodoro. Then break po muna. Depende sa inyo. 15 minutes up to 30 minutes. Then balik ulit sa Pomodoro. So that is helpful po kasi you can monitor your progress. Kung gaano kakabilis, kung gaano kakabagal, kung ano na yung mga nagawa mo at kung ano pa yung mga kailangan mong gawin. And it balances din po sa break. So hindi masyadong matagal yung break ninyo, hindi rin sobrang tagal yung work ninyo. So that is helpful po personally. So that is what we call the Pomodoro technique. So yun po, those are the tips that we can use so we can have a productive work from home schedule and we can balance our life, not just in work, but also in other areas of our lives. Thank you po.
Thank you so much, Sir JR, for that informative lecture. I'm sure all of us will be productive as we work from home because of the tips that you have given us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you rin po, ma'am, for discussing resiliency. Oftentimes, you have this vague notion of what resiliency is all about and other people are doubtful of using that term dahil nga masyadong vague. Pero because of your discussion, we get to see how it could be practical in many ways and how it could actually help us, especially now that we're facing pandemic and we need to work at the same time. And dahil po dyan, because of our discussion in our lecture on our first day in INSET, we have our first output for today for our participants, and that is weekly schedule. Ma'am, paano po ba ito?
Don't you worry. I think they will be shy. I don't know how they are going to take it. It's just a simple output, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they need to have what we call a routine, yung scheduling, yung proper time management. As simple as that. So we are to begin our day at 7
Yes.
from 7 o'clock. So what could be the best thing that we have to do, sir? Most probably.
Depends kasi iba-iba kasi tayo ng practices, ng situation. Yung iba
Yes.
sa atin, anak, katulad ko po. So medyo less
Mm-mm.
yung task kumpara po sa mga nanay na katulad po ninyo. Yes.
Yes,
So
but
it varies from time to time. So pero siguro maybe we could start with, dahil nga on our discussion kanina, we talked about setting the goal. Huwag muna magtrabaho agad pagkagising,
yes.
according to some experts. So maybe at 7 a.m. we could start with prayer and devotion if you're into practicing Christianity or if you're into reflecting. And siguro sabayan natin ng breakfast at 7 to 8 a.m. What do you think, ma'am?
Yeah, it could be of great help. At least we have goal. We ask the Lord's guidance, and then I'm sure He will lead us to make us really productive on our day.
Yes, so
Or for
kumbaga
our
parang
day.
we're collecting the energy that we will be using for the
Yes.
day. And then siguro at 8, maybe we could start with checking work updates. If there are
Yes.
new tasks that we need to do, if there are deadlines that we must take into consideration. So checking updates, ano pa kaya, ma'am? From within that hour.
You could also check your messenger. So there are times kasi
Mm-mm.
we act as call center agent, right,
Yes,
sir?
yes, yes, yes.
So we have to
Especially
answer
now.
all of those
Mm.
queries maybe.
Especially now, ma'am, di ba? May mga estudyante pa rin tayo na hinahanap natin ngayon. Yes,
Yes.
Enro. So
They
maybe
are
we
at loss.
could
Parang lost
also,
ship sila.
we could also include that. Start texting or
Yeah.
send messages
Send messages.
to students, something like that.
Yeah.
Yan. Yung kumbaga, profiling pa po ng mga bata na hindi pa nila nahahanap.
Yes, for
So,
those who are not. Pero for those who
yeah.
are done, I think they could proceed to the next
Yes.
step siguro.
Pero ito, the scheduling that we're asking them to do shouldn't be as detailed naman na parang mas nakakapagod na.
Exactly.
Naubos na
Yes.
yung oras kakagawa ng scheduling kaysa sa mismong
Oo.
gagawin nilang activity. Pero medyo dinetail
Correct.
natin, ma'am, so that they would be able to monitor themselves and their track as well. They can track the
Yes.
other activities. Ayan, so
It will really help them also so that they
Mhm.
have, things that they have to do for the day.
Yes.
Parang they are not really confined. Parang they don't know where to go.
Pero let's be realistic on this one. If you wag naman tayong working throughout from 7
Yes,
a.m. to 9
oo.
p.m. I think
Ah,
that would be too harsh on our end naman. So siguro 12 to 1, ilagay natin lunch. Kasi lunch break naman
yes.
talaga. Or maybe at 6,
Or,
sabihin natin end na ng work. Tapos 6 to 7,
Mm.
watch news or
oo,
po kung
news.
anong
Be
task.
updated. Be informed. Ganun na lang.
Yes, so basta dapat mag-reflect sa weekly schedule nila na balanced yung buhay nila. So there's this work.
Oo. Exactly. It's not only the physical, it's not only the emotional, basta the entire thing. What do you call that, sir? Parang the holistic.
So they will just have to accomplish this. Ayan. So kung trip nila matulog ng 8, sleep na, then go ahead. If you want to extend the scheduling, you may also do it. Basta our goal is for you to guide yourself then in balancing yourself and also being productive throughout the day. So yun, thank you
Yes.
very much, ma'am. Thank you for your time. Thank you for our participants for joining us today. Salamat po sa inyo, ma'am.
Thank you also. Thank you for those who also listened and to those who participated. Thank you so much.
Yan, thank you po and have a productive day. We'll just announce the deadline as well as the format. We'll be giving the format through our Google Classroom.
Google
Stay safe po.
Classroom.
Stay safe.